online, everyone who joined us in person. And also, Chloe is going to be sending out a link with the recording. So for all those future viewers, we welcome you as well. I'm Jenny Riggenbach. I'm the CEO of the Community Foundation. And we are thrilled to be relaunching our community lunch hour as the Voices of Impact. Over the next year, we are going to be bringing you stories from the organizations and causes who have funds at the foundation. And you might be wondering why. Why would we be doing that? And really, for the Community Foundation, we want to be your first stop when you're planning your future giving. And what that could look like is a place where you can learn about where the greatest needs are, what organizations are really positioned to use your donations well, and also those organizations that have endowments with the Community Foundation and how those work. So we are really thrilled that today, our first of the year, our first of our relaunch, we have Nicole Harrison and Erin Olson with us from CAP Services. And not only does CAP have a fund with us since 2000, they're also, every 3 years, they do a really important community needs assessment for both Portage and Waushara Counties. And we want to help amplify those needs. We have a chair here at the front of the room, and at any point, if anyone in the audience has a question or they'd like to get in the conversation, we welcome you to come sit up here, and we'll get you looped in. If you are online, we're asking that you raise your hand, and Chloe will watch for that, and we'll get you into the conversation as well. But with that, any other housekeeping that I need to share? Oh, I know. We want to talk about our sponsors. We are very grateful to our philanthropy sponsors of Delta Dental, Century, Mid-State Technical College, and UWSP, who really they help us be able to do these kinds of events and amplify this kind of learning. So we're really grateful to our sponsors. We good? We got everything? Okay. All right. Thanks, Chloe. So to get started, I know a lot of people, and I know a few people in this room, they know CAP Services, Carl Panezik, Mary Patoka, and know the deep history of the organization. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I really wanted to start today for all of you to get to know these two wonderful ladies, especially Nicole. I know a lot of people know Erin around the community, but Nicole transferred into this position as CEO in the middle of COVID. And I still feel like there's so much opportunity for people to get to know Nicole. So before we start talking about the needs assessment and CAP, Nicole, can you just tell us, how did you end up in this position? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Jenny, and it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. What first drew me into nonprofit leadership was my experience in my first role with CAP, which was back in 2001. So for those of you doing the math, I will be celebrating my 25th anniversary with the organization this year in February. And that very first role happened to be in Waushara County. And I was a family development manager for the Watoma Family Literacy Program. And in that role, I worked very closely with families who were doing everything they could, working hard, caring for their kids, and trying to navigate housing, childcare, work, and they were still struggling to stay afloat. What stayed with me wasn't just how hard their situation was, but how complicated the systems were around them. I remember realizing that the challenges they faced weren't about effort or motivation. They were about access, timing, and systems that don't always reflect real life. And this is especially true in rural communities. In that moment, poverty stopped being an abstract issue for me and became deeply human. I was drawn to nonprofit leadership because leadership is where systems can change. It's where decisions either create barriers or open pathways, where values turn into policies, and where compassion becomes something structural not just personal. I wanted to help build organizations that honor dignity, listen to live experience, and make it easier, not harder, for people to move forward. So that early experience still grounds me today. It's why community action work continues to matter so deeply to me, because at its core, this work is about people. And it's about creating the conditions where individuals and families can not only survive, but truly thrive. That belief continues to guide how I lead every day.
Thanks, Nicole. I love hearing you talk about the people, the challenges with the system, timing. What a great word that sums up so much of the challenges that can face families in our communities. And it's still hard. It doesn't make the decisions any easier. It's not even I don't think this is the right word, but decision making leadership comes with it comes with a responsibility, and I think you described that really well. How about Erin? Tell us a little bit more, Erin.
Well, as Jenny mentioned, there are a number of you in this room that I know, having grown up in Stevens Point and having worked with some of you in my role at CAP. My journey here really started, I would say, in elementary school. I was just always service-minded, and when Jenny sent us these questions in advance, I was thinking about this, and I thought, well, what was the first thing? And I remember as like a fourth or fifth grader, somehow we got the idea that our playground needed new wood chips. And the playground supervisor said, well, you should start a petition. And so I did. And that became a leadership project. The principal said, okay, if this is something that you think as this 10-year-old kid is so important, you can help lead this. And so we'll get the delivery and you can help spread these wood chips. And I think there was something really satisfying for me about that being part of the solution. And it just fed my thirst, to use two food-related metaphors, I guess, to deepen my involvement. And so by the time I hit high school, I knew that I was interested in nonprofits and learning more. And so I actually had the great opportunity to be part of United Way's allocations process. So I volunteered each spring to review the applications, sit with a group of volunteers, and decide how community donations would be allocated to these incredible nonprofits. And that was the moment that cemented it. And so when I had the opportunity to come to CAP in 2013, on my first day, I said, okay, thank you so much. I look forward to retiring from here. CAP is a really wonderful place that I think recognizes, as Nicole said, the complexities of the situations that people are facing and remains really nimble in responding to them. And what drew me to a leadership opportunity, I say yes to things is really what it boils down to. And so, yeah. And so as opportunities arise, I think, well, how can I contribute to that? And if I'm invited to be part of that solution, it's really difficult for me to say no. And it turns out that gets recognized over time. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a leadership position. And it's been so gratifying.
Wonderful. Thank you both. So CAP is, though, much older than 25 years. For our audience members who might not be familiar with CAP, can you tell us about that deep history and of the organization and why it exists?
Sure, thank you. I think it is helpful to understand that CAP is part of a national community action movement. Community action started back in the 1960s. In 1964, President Johnson signed the Economic Opportunity Act into law, and one of the components of that law was the formation of local community action agencies. So the agency we know today as CAP Services was incorporated in 1966 as the Central Wisconsin Economic Opportunity Committee, CWEOC. And that was organized as a private nonprofit corporation serving Marquette, Portage and Waushara Counties. Grace Lensmeyer, who some of you here in this room, some of the Portage County attendees may remember, was the first executive director. CWEOC changed its name to CAP Services in 1975. By that time, CAP was already operating Head Start and weatherization programs, as well as some other community-based programs. Over time, CAP continued to add and refine programming shaped by the needs and the voices we serve. In 1978, Waupaca County was added to our service area. And then in 1988, we launched our Jobs and Business Development Program when Raytheon Manufacturing donated the former Speed Queen factory in Wautoma for use as a business incubator. And that is now known as the Capsule building. We continue to provide commercial space at below market rates for businesses that create jobs in Waushara County. In 1991, CAP's Skills Enhancement Program launched in the Fox Cities, and then Outagamie County was added to our service area in 1993. CAP's mission has only changed 3 times in our history. The most recent time was in 2015, where we revised our mission statement, recognizing that what we had been using as a tagline, which is transforming people and communities, that defines why we exist. We seek to advance social and economic justice, especially for those with low incomes, ensuring that all members of our community have the capacity to achieve their goals and thrive. And as I mentioned before, we were established in 1966, and so this year we will celebrate our 60th anniversary. And as part of that celebration, we are reflecting on both the ways CAP has changed over the years and the ways we've stayed the same. I'm proud that we continue to offer Head Start and weatherization services, which were among the first programs that CAP implemented. And there have been other programs that CAP launched that have since shifted to community partners, such as the dental clinic here in Stevens Point that we began in collaboration with Ministry Health Center, and which today is available through Noble Clinics. Over time, some programs have been discontinued as community needs changed or as resources have decreased. What has not changed is CAP's commitment to providing interconnected solutions that give people a pathway to stability, security, and prosperity. So today, CAP advances its mission through nearly 24 programs working together across our service area to create lasting change.
Wow. I learned a lot of new things, and I thought I knew a lot about CAP. Namely, that was the Speed Queen factory. Wow, right on Main Street. And you know, I think as we start to get into the needs assessment, and I really appreciated, Nicole, that you gave some examples of programs that have transitioned, and even alluded to programs that needed to end either because needs change or resources change. And I think that's where we get into where the community really plays a role in both identifying needs and also providing resources as well. Let's talk about your needs assessment. You do this every 3 years, correct? And it takes into account data, trends, and participant survey results. And you have 3 priority issues. Do you want to talk about what those priority issues were? Who wants to take that one?
Okay. So through the survey, through the assessment, we conducted a survey of households with low incomes, partnered with a mailing company to be able to identify those households using census data and surveyed them directly, as well as researching or partnering with agencies who also serve that population and could deploy surveys. And then we also did a study of what we call secondary data. So looking at what do we know from census reports and other studies that are available across the state and the nation. And so from that, our staff go through a process of winnowing and reviewing everything before presenting what we see as the top needs to the board. And the board of directors adopted the top 3 issues, recognizing that these are really key for every constituency that we serve. Lack of income and savings, cost of housing and transportation, and cost of loans and debt. And I think it's not altogether surprising that when we are looking at what are the needs of low-income households, it's financial.
Something that always strikes me every time I read the latest of the assessments from CAP is how tangible the priority areas are. They don't leave you guessing. It's like just the facts, ma'am. And I think we need that. We need a little bit more of that to understand where the needs are. Can you talk a little bit, as you said, Erin, like this is all, it all comes down to financial and where resources are coming from. What data stood out to you and the board, Nicole, Erin, as you were developing the actual priority areas?
Just to continue on what I said, you know, the fact that these issues are financial in nature, one of the takeaways though for us is, of course, you have to have enough income to pay your monthly bills before you can think about how to build your savings, how you can accumulate assets that are going to be transferred to future generations. And I think sometimes we can be looking at those longer term solutions without considering the immediate steps that need to happen. If somebody can't pay their bills on a regular basis, how are they supposed to build savings? So that stood out to me, and that was some of the comments that we heard from focus group participants.
Yeah, I will echo what Erin has shared. So another part of that needs assessment process was meeting with people in our communities to hear directly from them about what they were experiencing. And so what stood out most to me for Portage and Waushara Counties is how many people are working or living on a fixed income and still can't afford the basics. So I think it's best in the words of focus group participants. So I'll share a couple quotes. The first one is a participant shared, "I haven't been able to save, and our main thing has been the car repairs and groceries. I'm spending probably double on groceries. So I'm not able to save at all, and I do worry if something goes wrong with my house, I don't have any cushion for that in my budget. And also my utilities have gone up tremendously." So that was one comment shared in a focus group. Another comment echoes again what Erin shared is, "I live paycheck by paycheck. It is hard for me to pay my bills. It is hard to pay the bills when you don't make enough money." So again, really echoing that need for those financial resources to help support households.
I want to encourage people, if questions are coming to mind and you want to consider, please don't hesitate to join us up here. I believe that I read in the report that Waushara County specifically, really that some of that data that bubbled up for me was the amount of debt that people in our smallest communities are facing. Could you talk a little bit about any disparities that the data revealed by, you know, whether it's a little bit more by county, gender, race, income level, age? What are you starting to drill down on to understand where to focus?
All right, so specific to Portage and Waushara Counties, the data shows that hardship is not experienced evenly. Children face higher poverty rates than adults, and in Waushara County especially, older adults are more vulnerable due to fixed incomes and rising costs. Women experience higher poverty rates than men, and Hispanic and Latino families and households of color face poverty at 2 to 3 times the rate of white non-Hispanic households. Many families are working, but still can't afford basic needs, especially those with disabilities. These disparities show that poverty is experienced differently across our community, and our solutions must be responsive for those differences.
Did you want to add anything?
I just want to share one of the ways that we do try to be responsive to those differences. CAP has a community resource team, and our focus is ensuring equity in access. And so we are deliberately staffed with bilingual, bicultural individuals who can help us connect with those who are most impacted by poverty. And through that shared lived experience, I think we're able to build trust and help connect people to resources that can make a difference.
Yeah, not only that, but actually get those honest answers, right? And that's, I think, the great value of how you approach even the data gathering. Before we start talking a little bit more about, how you've turned some of that data into action, I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how our local conditions compare to the state and national trends.
Overall, Portage and Waushara Counties reflect many of the same pressures seen statewide and nationally, but those challenges often show up more intensely in rural communities, particularly around the aging population, income stability, housing affordability, and transportation. In terms of poverty and income, poverty has declined over the past decade in both counties, mirroring state and national trends following post-pandemic era supports. However, current poverty rates in Portage, which is around 10%, and Waushara, which is around 11%, they remain similar to or slightly higher than Wisconsin overall, which is at 10.6%. But pockets of deeper poverty persist, especially among children, women, people with disabilities, and households of color. Like the state and nation, many households earn above the federal poverty level, but still cannot meet basic needs. The assessment shows a growing number of ALICE households, and ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed households, that those consistent with national findings that work alone does not guarantee economic stability.
I think we also did some analysis to compare our local statistics with what's happening nationally in terms of aging and some of those rural demographics. Waushara County really stands out with a significantly older population. More than a quarter of residents in Waushara County are age 65 or older, which is well above the state average. This aligns, though, with national trends, but of course it's more pronounced locally and increased demand for fixed income supports, healthcare access, housing stability. Those who are over 65 typically are not in a position of seeking improved employment to meet those costs, although we do see that some continue working beyond retirement age in order to meet those needs. Portage County is younger than Waushara, but still faces a rural labor market and wage challenges that are common across Wisconsin and the Midwest.
Another area that the report looked at is housing. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anyone, but housing costs are rising locally just as they are statewide and nationally. While median rents and mortgage costs in Portage and Waushara are lower than the Wisconsin average, a similar or higher share of households are housing cost burdened, and that means they're paying more than 30% of their income on housing costs alone. So that means affordability remains a significant issue despite the lower prices of housing costs in our area. Roughly 1/3 of renters in both counties also spend more than 30% of their income on housing, which is consistent with national housing affordability trends.
Through our assessment, we also looked at transportation and access. Unsurprising, transportation costs are a greater burden locally because we are serving a more rural community. Urban areas tend to have public transit and we do not, or it's more limited in Portage County. And that reflects a national rural trend. Limited public transit, long travel distances mean that households in Portage and Waushara spend a higher share of their income on vehicles, fuel, and repairs. And that doesn't even include insurance, which some opt not to take because of affordability. Rising vehicle prices and maintenance costs locally mirror national patterns, but have an outsized impact in those rural counties where driving just isn't optional.
So the bottom line is Portage and Waushara counties are experiencing the same structural pressures affecting communities across Wisconsin and the US, such as rising costs, income instability, and housing challenges. But rural context and the aging population intensify those pressures locally. That is why our communities need solutions that are designed locally and reflect the realities of rural life, which is why this assessment is so important and why community action exists.
I want to go back to something you said right at the beginning, Nicole, when you talked about the history of CAP being part of a movement that started in the late 60s, and how that movement was inclusive of rural and urban communities. And it feels like over time that, we hear and talk a lot about that divide and where resources and programs are offered, what's available. But in reality, there is so much to be learned from each other. So if we can maybe shift gears now and start talking, unless, did you want to talk at all about debt, the cost of loans and debt? I know you hit on two of them. Was there anything else that you wanted to share about that before we start talking a little bit about the response, CAP's response?
Well, I think one thing that we learned is, and we heard this specifically in the focus groups, is that people who are low income, they often pay more as a result of higher interest rates and late fees. So the costs of loans and debt are often much higher for people who are struggling to survive on that lower income. And so that also was reflected in our survey.
Great, thank you. So what are some of the how are you using the findings to shape your programs?
So really, we tried to take a pretty direct approach. As we looked at those top three issues, we wanted to be able to respond to each of those. And so we have three strategic goals that will guide us for the next 3 years. One, households increase income and savings, since we know that that's an issue. And so we will continue to pursue strategies that support households obtaining employment with living wages, helping them access benefits that promote financial well-being, and providing opportunities to build savings. We are already doing this work through programs like skills enhancement, our community resource team, our volunteer income tax assistance program, and our intent is to maintain and expand these offerings as resources allow. And what I love about our plan, and I'll get to the other two goals, but it's a 3-year plan that is intentionally broad to allow us to respond to current conditions. And so right now in this moment, maintenance is key. But I think in all that we do, we're going to continue to be evaluating opportunities that we can pilot new initiatives, make sure that we are being as responsive as possible and testing new solutions that can address these needs. Our second goal relates to that second priority issue of housing. And so we as an organization want to maintain and expand affordable housing in our communities. We have rental units in Portage and Waushara counties for individuals and families, including individuals who need to live independently despite a disability. And so we are committed to preserving the affordability of those units. And we hope to partner with mission-driven developers to offer additional units over time. We will also continue to support affordable home ownership through participation in community land trusts. We launched with partners a community land trust in 2023, 2024. And also through our work in our home repairs and weatherization programs. So really ensuring that people have safe and affordable housing that their utility bills are manageable, they're not losing energy, and that they are in a HUD quality home. And then finally, our third goal is that households increase net worth. So we will continue providing opportunities for households to build credit and improve their credit score through our loans, to help them reduce their debt and to help them achieve their goal of buying a car or owning a home, through those loans that we have available and also through financial counseling.
Can you guys talk a little bit more about the land trust? I'm not sure that is familiar as your rental programs.
Sure. Community land trusts are projects where the home becomes affordable over a longer period of time. So for a lot of housing programs, that initial benefit is felt from the first homeowner to purchase a home through a program such as first-time home buyers. So that initial cost savings is experienced from that one first homeowner, and then beyond that, it may not meet that same criteria. With a community land trust, the land for the home is put into a trust, which then makes that home for future sales be more affordable over the longer period. So for future homeowners will also then gain that benefit when they purchase the home, because the land will be in a trust and won't be part of that cost when the homeowner purchases it. We're very excited about it. We're still learning, and we hope to have some projects put in place within the next year or so. Right now we're focusing on Portage County, and we're also talking with a group in Marathon County about possibly collaborating. And it is a project we're very excited about and would fit really well with some of the projects that CAP currently has in our portfolio, looking at our home rehab programs. And when we sell to low to moderate income buyers, we would be able to put them in this land trust.
Thank you. Any questions in the audience, either online or in the room, that are popping up for people? Come on up, come on up. Hello, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to us and then?
Can do. I'm Mara Pionic. I'm an account executive with ABR Employment Services. Hi, Erin. We just talked the other day. I'm curious, as what started as a national organization in the 60s, do you still get a lot of support statewide, nationally, from other similar services, like our CAP services everywhere, and you get support from them? Or are you now your own, like a local organization really, and not getting support elsewhere?
So it was not a national organization that started, but a national movement authorizing community action agencies to serve communities around the nation. And so we are one of 17 in Wisconsin, 16 in Wisconsin, and one of thousands across the country. And so part of what makes this community action model work is community services block grants from the federal level. And so again, it's that idea of local control, that a solution that works in New York City is not going to work in Poughkeepsie. And so there is support at the federal and the state level for the programs that we offer, but we also mobilize a lot of support from the Community Foundation and from private donors, from local businesses to do the work that we do. And United Way. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, so we remain part of that national network and our statewide network as well, to continue delivering those local solutions.
Got it. Okay, that's all.
Awesome. And for those of you in the room, this is what you brought? No, but oh yes, the organizational overview. It has lots of information. There's also, if you go to their website, they have some really good resources where you can see actually a breakdown of state, federal, and private giving that supports CAP services as well. So yeah, good resource. Okay, well, I'll keep encouraging questions. Anybody on the screen? Not right now. Okay. Loans. Erin, you mentioned loans. Could you share a little bit more about what does it mean from the standpoint of building, building that family wealth, the kinds of loans that you have, and what's different from what you do versus what might be on the private market?
So CAPS loans are available to people who maybe have no credit or whose credit has taken a hit at some point over time. And so we're able to make loan packages a little bit differently. This is not my area of expertise, so I'll let Nicole chime in as needed with some of those technical details. But I think what is encouraging is that we are committed to making affordable loans. Our auto loans are zero interest. Our credit builder loans are very low interest. We try to help people avoid predatory lenders, and we can even rebundle those loans and help people escape that system. And we truly look at what is an affordable payment plan for our clients. We also are reporters to the credit building agency. And so that is, I think, what's really key here is that we're not just offering, whether it's a 5-year loan or a 3-year loan, like you might get from a bank or a credit union at personal line of credit. They would be reporting your payment activity, and we're able to do the same. And so that really does help people then improve that credit score, improving their credit worthiness over time so that they have access to those traditional bank services.
CAP is a Certified Community Development Financial Institution, which is a CDFI. So that allows us opportunities to access capital that we can then loan in our communities. And it gives us some flexibility for how we structure those programs. So it works best for clients and residents right here in the local communities. So that is something that we're very proud of, and we've been operating that program since we've been designated since the year 2000. So we just celebrated our 25 years last year, and we're still going strong. We offer loans for businesses, so we do jobs and business development, and we also have consumer loans. We have auto purchase and repair loans, and then we also have debt reduction loans as well.
Oh, we have a question online. Can you talk more about Head Start?
Sure. Head Start is a program that CAP has been operating since the 1960s. It was another part of the legislation that came out of what President Johnson signed in 1964. CAP operates this Head Start centers in Portage County and Waushara County, and we continue to offer those services. We have not been negatively impacted. I know that's a question a lot of people have, but so far we have not been negatively impacted financially. Our Head Start contract renews April 1st of every year, so we are hopeful that we will receive another grant award beginning April 1st to be able to continue offering those slots in both Portage and Waushara counties.
It might be, oh, you want to come on up? It might be intuitive to most of us in this room, but could you, as Jim's coming up, could you mind just sharing a little bit more about how it connects, how Head Start connects to the priority areas?
Absolutely. So Head Start is an early childhood development program, and we work with children and parents to help with that early childhood education and offer that holistic support for families. And it connects in that we are working with families, again, holistically on their goals. And a lot of those households are at or below 100% of the federal poverty income guidelines, which is very low if you look up those numbers. And we help families look for opportunities to increase that income and to reduce expenses as part of that Head Start program.
Great. Want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Jim Riggenbach. Happen to be related to the MC here. My question is do you do outcome studies to determine how effective your programs are?
We do indeed. That is both a federal requirement, and I think as part of our way of being, something that we are invested in understanding if the work that we're doing is actually making a meaningful difference in people's lives. And so typically our outcomes are driven by the programs that we operate. And so we would be looking at, for example, how many people increase their income after they go through a workforce development program and obtain a degree. I'm blanking on other outcomes right now, but we also do look at then how many people who receive services from CAP have more than one outcome, because we know that, for example, someone who is enrolled in our skills enhancement workforce development program might also receive an auto loan, might also be at one of our rental housing units, might have their children enrolled in Head Start. And so that allows us to really highlight the interconnected nature of our services, as well as seeing the sort of pinpoint outcomes in each program.
And do you collaborate with, say, health and human service programs in the different counties, W-2 forward services, and how does that go?
Absolutely. Last year, we had over 400 partnerships across our service area. We cannot do this work alone, and I think that's true of any nonprofit. And so being able to partner with human service departments, other nonprofits, faith-based groups, it just boosts our capacity. But there's a lot of cross referrals, ensuring that people are connected to every available resource that they qualify for, particularly if it's not one that CAP Services offers directly.
Great questions, Jim. Thanks for coming. How about how are your outcomes? Can you describe or give an example of, and this one's putting you on the spot, I can tell. Sorry, you're gonna have to dust off the cobwebs maybe. And that's how I have to when I have to come up with something on the fly. But yeah, just understanding a little bit more about the just the value of CAP. And I mean, I can give one that I heard Nicole speak to recently when we had a conversation about Head Start, when there was so much ambiguity about what was going to happen with the program, and the fact that you all were in a really good position to make payroll. And not every organization was at that time. So that's more of an organizational outcome, but just, yeah, if you can share anything about outcomes for families.
Well, I guess I'm going to start by not assuming that everybody has a baseline knowledge of what an outcome is. And so it really is a measure of the permanent change in capacity or a way of being in a person's life. And so the example that I gave about someone who obtains a degree or credential, even if they don't get that new employment right away, that's an outcome, because now they have greater opportunity in the job market. Once they do receive that new job with higher wages and with access to employer-sponsored benefits, it starts that career trajectory that positions them for long-term growth. And so really, again, each program has a set of outcomes that they're exploring, but it's all based on what changes does a person experience as a result of receiving the services.
That was very well stated, Erin. One thing I just want to point out is that every program within CAP does have outcomes that we collect and we track. We want to make sure that the work that we're doing is having the impact that we hope for and that families are feeling that. So we do have a report that we share with our board quarterly that tracks every program and the identified corporate outcomes for that quarter. And top of mind, Jenny, that's putting us on the spot, but we do track it regularly, and we have a centralized database at this time that we're also using that we implemented at the beginning of 2024. And that is allowing us to track outcomes again across various programs and various domains so that we can look at that family progress, not just from one program lens, but also from those interconnected solutions.
Thank you both. And really great call, Erin, and to describe an outcome. That was really, it's so easy to get stuck in what we talk about every day and forget that people don't necessarily know. So what do you hope happens as a result for highlighting these issue areas? Maybe, from internally in the organization, but just also broader in the community with your community partners.
So I think our hope is that a few very important things happen. First, we want people to understand that poverty in our communities is not about a lack of effort. And that's something that we believe and see very closely, but it's not necessarily commonly known or understood. It's about rising costs, limited wages, and barriers that many working families and seniors face every day. Secondly, we hope that highlighting these issues creates alignment across partners, funders, and local leaders so that we can work together to invest in solutions that actually move the needle, like helping people earn more, stabilize their housing, and build credit and savings over time. And finally, and maybe most importantly, our hope is that families experience real change, that they have more financial breathing room, more stable housing, and a clearer path toward long-term security and opportunity.
That's great. And so any questions from the audience? Okay. I know for us at the Community Foundation, understanding what organizations see, what they're communicating to us, and our ability with our grants committees to kind of connect those dots is really, really important. This will be something that we ask all of our committee members to watch and understand a little bit more from CAP, review those priority areas, because you're absolutely right, Erin. It does take all of us, and we do it in ways that doesn't necessarily mean we all have to sit in a room together, right? May Nachman does a wonderful job at United Way of gathering people twice a month to just quick updates, right? Where are things headed? Where are things going? Every one of us takes information back to our organizations and weaves those things. And this is really essential also to our learning at the foundation. So I really thank you. I applaud everything that you're doing to help the community understand and help us understand more about what you need as an organization. Which kind of brings me to a final question of what can others do to support our community to make progress on these priority issues, these very serious priorities.
Well, as we have stated, community progress happens when we all work together. Again, we do not do this work alone and in isolation. It takes all of us as a community. So people can help support this work by advocating for policies that strengthen wages, that promote affordable housing, that enhance access to benefits. We can also help by partnering with organizations that are already doing the work on the ground, and also by investing time, talent, or resources where they can. An example is employers can look at implementing family-friendly workplace policies, including flexible schedules, wages, and benefits. Landlords and housing developers can help preserve and create affordable housing. And community members can stay informed, speak up, and support neighbors when challenges arise. Real change happens when we align our efforts and take shared responsibility for building a community where everyone has the chance to truly thrive.
Awesome. That's great. And if, again, going back to sort of our purpose, we hope all of you today learned more about community needs. We also hope that hearing from leadership at CAP Services, that it gives you confidence that any gift that you might be considering directly to the organization will be used well and to its fullest. And also to know that endowments matter, right? And this is an organization that has an endowment with the foundation. And the idea that, investing in endowments today leads to future growth and protections as financial protections for organizations as things change in our community financially. So we're very grateful that you joined us today. If you're interested in coming next month, we're going to be hearing from Camp Hope, which is just another amazing, it's almost a little secret in our community, unless you have experienced the devastation of losing a child or a parent in your life. And if you have, that has become a life saver for many families. So we're going to hear from Marty Loy, who started the fund, he and his wife, Becky, and Maria Loy, who's leading it today, along with the board member, Christy Anderson. So we hope you can join us. I think did I get it all? Okay. Oh, there they are. There they are. Maria, Christy, and Marty. So it should be another great conversation. And again, for those of you in the room, please help me thank Nicole and Erin for joining us today. You have a question? Go for it. Come on up. If you've got a question, don't mean to cut anybody off. We got 9 minutes. Don't leave us yet. You introduce yourself?
So I'm Mary Schultz. I was a past counselor in the district in Rapids and work with the refugee program in town here. But my question is regarding the mental health navigation. And I mean, obviously the issues that face many of these people result in some definite depression and other areas where these people are dealing with that as well. And one of the things that I see is really difficult is to try to find help for people. What you have that as listed as one of your areas. Can you mention what is happening in that area to help people find assistance in their mental health needs?
Yes, CAP's mental health navigation program sometimes gets mistaken for therapy or a counseling program, but the purpose is there in the name. We are providing those navigation services to help people connect to an appropriate mental health resource for whatever that need may be. We have a lot of opportunity for those, again, cross referrals internally, because as you noted, when financial pressures are high, that leads to anxiety, that can lead to depression. But we also see people who come directly to the program with a mental health need of some type who could probably benefit from a community resource like being referred to the W-2 program or Badger Care. And so that's really the purpose of what the program does. We have some support from the Otto Bremer Trust via the United Way to work specifically with youth, because we know that youth mental health, and if you've been a counselor, I'm sure that you understand very well that youth mental health is at a really critical point. And so we're doing specific outreach and services in those populations as well. Does that answer your question?
Great. Well, how about one more call? Come on up. Hello. I'm going to just pull your chair in a little bit so I can see you on the screen.
Sure, here we go. I'm Laura Humphrey, and I'm with Immigrant Hope here, providing immigration legal services to families. My question for you guys is, I know you provide interpreters in Hmong and Spanish. In previous work, I've used them, but are your programs bilingual? And is there any look at opening it up to other languages such as Swahili and French and all of the new immigrants coming in?
That's another great question. We have in-house some, as you noted, bilingual, bicultural programs, including serving refugees directly, but also we have bilingual staff in our skills enhancement program, in our family crisis center services, in early childhood, so that we can ensure that direct access with an interpreter on site. Within our programs, if we don't have bilingual, bicultural staff, we have a contract to use phone interpretation, not the, best option, but in lieu of another, we make that work. And so I think that is always front of mind for us, is how we can continue to ensure that equitable access, especially as our population changes. And I mentioned too earlier, our community resource team, they can help with a lot of that navigation within programs. But as you noted, it is mostly Hmong and Spanish at this point.
Great question. All right, anyone else? All right, well, again, I want to thank our sponsors, Delta Dental of Wisconsin, Century Insurance, UWSP, and Midstate Technical College. And how about one more round of applause for our guests today? Thank you.